And just as I told you that when we return from that break, we will be taking a look at something about this on our mental health. Yes, it's year 2025, and I know that most people, part of their resolutions is to um, have a better learning capacity. For instance, for children, as parents, you want to help your children to learn more, and for individuals too, in our relationships, we want to do better, especially when it comes to husband and wife relationships. We want to see that, oh, we get more, that love permeates in our relationship more. And that is why this morning we've got a psychiatrist in the house. We'll be looking at two issues. Yes, they are different issues, but somehow are related as well. And we're seizing the opportunity of seeing him. We have in the house this morning Dr. Bayo. Dr. Bayo in the house. Agun. Yes, Akingun Nui. Yes, to discuss with us the ADHD and the NPD, yes, which are bothersome mental issues, and how we, if you're the sufferer, how you can get better, and if you have someone who is suffering from that, you can help the person get better. It's nice to have you in the studio of this morning. Yes, let's start with this one because schools are just resuming. Some resumed this week and some will be resuming next week. Yes, generally, and most parents want to say their children perform better. There are instances where teachers or parents will name each other, oh, you're just dull, you can't learn, and all of that. Not knowing that sometimes it could be as a function of attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. Yes, can you make us understand this more and how it affects learning?
So ADHD, or like you rightly said, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, is a form of mental health challenge that usually affects the children, although a few people grow up with it but as they grow up, it actually wanes out, or there might still be a bit of traces here and there. Usually it borders on two facets, just from the name. The attention, there is a bit of deficits with the attention of the child, and then there is a bit of increase in the activity of the child, such that oftentimes most of those children are seen to be very energetic, restless. In a few minutes you leave them here, the next minute you are seeing them there, the next minute you are jumping there, trying to play with all sorts of things. You shout at them just now, in a couple of minutes you try to actually restrain them. Within a minute or two, they're already up and doing some other things. And because they have this upsurge of energy, they are just everywhere, and they could sometimes be disruptive. Now, it is not just as if they have the energy in some mental activities. They are unable to actually focus on getting those activities done and then getting a good result from it. So oftentimes most of these children are regarded as maybe they are doing very poorly in school, or they are disruptive, or maybe just disturbing everybody. But of course, fault of the children. Number two, they can actually get help, and then as time goes on, the children will get better.
So what should be the disposition of parents, for instance, if their children suffer from this kind of disorder? Many times you find, perhaps because Nigeria is a highly religious country, you find people thinking it's a spiritual attack and all of that. What should be the disposition of parents or guardians who find out that their children or wards suffer from such disorder?
Well, like every other mental health challenge, we know it's a medical condition, not a spiritual issue. And then, unfortunately, we are in a part of the world where we religionize almost everything that happens to us. And oftentimes, most guardians or parents actually seek help from a wrong place. And most times, by the time they eventually present at the hospital, a lot of other damages would have been done from other things that have been used. But one would say that the best thing to do for parents, when they notice that their children or their wards are not doing so much good in school, or they are being called almost every now and then that the child is disruptive and all those, the best thing is to seek help from a medical facility. And usually there is a solution. Yeah, it might take a little while, but it's a proven fact that once they seek medical attention early enough, these children eventually get better and at least become productive to a large extent, sometimes useful to themselves and at large to the people around them.
So what kind of help do they get?
Majorly psychiatric help. Well,
Psychiatric help.
yeah, majorly.
Does that mean that they have psychiatric disorder?
Well,
Because you see, when people hear psychiatric help, it's one thing that comes to their mind. Perhaps this is why they don't like to present their children for such help.
Well, I have witnessed a couple of patients that would, well, okay, some of them I would have met outside in the general public, and I was like, this person would do better visiting the psychiatric facility. And they're, no, it's not my portion and all those. But eventually, when the condition goes on and they see that they've sorted help in several places and it appears that the condition is not winning out, they eventually resort to coming. And for example, we once had a patient in the hospital who had been tied down, had been sick for about 8 years, was tied down for 4 years of his life, and presented in the hospital. Within a month, we were already conversing like a normal person, which means that there is actually a solution. And most wards and parents should see that okay, let me put it this way. When people have problems with sleep, it's actually a psychiatric condition too. But most people, when you now say, because you're having issues with sleep, visit a psychiatric facility, like, it's not my portion. But eventually when you go there, you get the best of help. And within a few days or weeks, things get better.
It's already your portion because you cannot sleep. So for it not to be your portion, you have to go get the help.
Sure.
But how do we deal with this stigmatization, as it were, when, for instance, someone says that I came to visit you, for instance, in your facility, and then perhaps I just came to even say hello as a friend, and then they say, you should not see, he just come from the psychiatric facility. So how do we deal with this aspect of our life?
Well, Nigeria is a growing country in terms of, let me put it, psychiatric awareness. Nigeria is a growing country. In other countries, issues of psychiatric challenges are not major things they worry about. But one of the things we can do is, for example, what we are doing now, creating awareness, going to schools, relating with religious leaders to actually try as much as possible to encourage the appeals to as much as possible seek help in the right place. We'll keep talking and we hope that we'll be able to reach out to as many as possible.
All right, Doctor, let's now come back to this issue, the parents and teachers especially, as school resumes now. What sort of help can they render, to children having this difficulty?
But I think the first thing to know is that it is not the child's fault. In fact, one of the things that must be ringing bell in the mind of everybody as long as the person is living is nobody is immune to any form of psychiatric illness, including myself that is sitting here. It can happen to anybody. So when we have this mindset, it helps us to give a better predisposition to helping people that present with any form of psychiatric condition, including ADHD. And more importantly, we need empathy in every sector, such that as a parent, sometimes it can be frustrating. Sometimes, you are dealing with all sorts, and then you have other children to deal with. It can be frustrating. But we still need to show a form of empathy such that we know, okay, I want to put myself in the position of this child. If we do that, we give the best of support to the children, and I think that will help.
All right, so I think we should move on because we have two things to deal with. Going on online, yes, everybody wants better relationships and all of that. And when you are in a relationship, when a partner lacks empathy, when the partner has an exaggerated sense of self-importance, like I've done you a favor marrying you, for instance, and you understand, I must be the one idolized in this marriage, is servitude and all of that, then it becomes chaotic. And I believe that you'll find frustration because it's narcissistic, and narcissism and all of that. Yes. Do you think people who have this narcissistic personality disorder, do they present themselves to your facility? Do you think they will readily come? Or how can a partner say, I think this is what my girlfriend or my husband is suffering from. How can we get help?
I think the first concern should be do people even know how to recognize when they see these things? Sometimes back, I once knew somebody who had narcissistic behaviors. And of course, because we know that narcissistic behaviors is a tendency that is prolonged, pervasive, and then persistent, and then it grows, especially from the teenage to adulthood. It's more like a behavior that somebody actually grows with. And then, of course, they have three major features: the grandiosity, the belief that I am superior to everybody. They have this lack of empathy towards others, and they have an excessive need for attention. And then, so once I had this person that I was working with that had these features florid actually, such that when the person does a little thing, expects so much glorification, and then puts himself above every other person, feels that he should be ahead of because of it. So now the first thing is to at least recognize these things. That when we recognize some of these symptoms, it's easier to now counsel the person to seek for help. And then it should also be noticed that it's actually a destructive kind of behavior, such that it affects the social functioning of such individuals. It also affects majorly their relationship. Okay, let me say social functioning, and of course that cuts across relationship, their
Well, maybe I pedal back a bit, and then let's look at the issue of dealing with the young folks. A video trended recently, unfortunately, of a teacher slapping the face a 3-year-old pupil. What's your counsel to teachers, especially in terms of upping their game in the deployment of emotional intelligence in dealing with these young people? Because, like you said, nobody's immune to these disorders. A young child could also suffer from such, maybe through not remembering things easily, not catching up with things easily. What's your counsel to teachers, especially those dealing with these youngsters?
Okay, so I'm going to actually go a little back and say that do we actually know the condition the teacher actually is dealing with? That's number one, because that's actually key, especially for employers.
Maybe the teacher also has
an issue,
a disorder,
yes,
mental.
It's very possible. But let's not dwell so much on that. But of course, it is the responsibility of every employer to actually ensure that your employees are psychologically evaluated. That's one. Number two is this. I said earlier that every word, teacher, parents actually need empathy. Now, the question is this. If it were this child of that teacher, would that individual have slapped the child that easily? You understand? Because that would also call to question that, okay, what could actually have been the problem? This, of course, must have been a child you have been dealing with over a while. It's not something that just happened now. You must have known this child for a while. This child is not doing well the first time, second time, maybe third semester, fourth, and the child is concurrently not doing well. That naturally should call the teacher to question that, oh, something definitely must be happening. Like, I once was called in a school in this town by the proprietor who sent a message and said that I have a couple of students in my school who I think may be dealing with some problems. And I asked why. She said, well, they've been doing well, but suddenly I noticed that there's a drift from their performances. And we've called the attention of their parents to actually check in, and apparently the parents are not seeing anything wrong. But we want to tell the parents if we could actually bring in a professional and see. And then that was how I came in. And eventually we noticed a couple of things. Some of them boiled back to the problem within the parents that's actually affecting the children. Some of these things actually take a large toll on the children, and it is the responsibility of the teacher not just to actually go up front and then start punishing. You must actually find a way to find out what exactly might be precipitating all this, and that's where we can help the children.
I guess somebody got the answer to that. Well, that's to tell teachers, especially, and caregivers to these children, that you need patience. Every child cannot learn at the same speed, so you need to be patient and try to know your students individually.
Well, I think the crux of the matter, the doctors talked about it, ensuring and ascertaining the mental and the psychological stability of your employees.
Or even the employees, very very important. All right, so let's move back to the issue of MPD, because in relationships, you say, oh, he's a narcissist, he's controlling, and all of that. But here I see that it's as if there is a difference between a narcissism itself and narcissistic personality disorder. What's the difference?
Okay, now, behavioral disorders are classified in different layers, let me put it that way, and there are several forms of them. We have the obsessive compulsive disorder. That we actually go with what you just said earlier. It's more controlling, it's more, people will say readily involved, more domineering and all those. We have the schizotyper, we have the schizoid, they are actually kind of plenty. But then, to dwell more on narcissistic behavior, like I said, there are three classical features. Number one, there is grandiosity, the belief that I am superior to everybody, the false confidence, and the person does a little thing, whether there is just a little achievement, the person kind of hypes it and then
celebrate it.
Yes, and then rubs it in the face of every other person. Oftentimes, they diminish the value of others in order to achieve what they want, and then their own glorification. Apart from grandiosity, they also have this excessive need for affection and attention, such that I do a little thing, I want people to actually on 50,000 as salary, and then the person does normal job that every other person would have done. Because there is a little achievement, the person is saying, you have to increase my salary because I think I am worth this and that. So there's this attention need, and more importantly, there's lack of empathy, such that they never cares about, they never sorted out. And oftentimes, like I said, it affects relationships, it affects social functioning. For example, if you employ somebody in this establishment who has that kind of behavioral pattern, oftentimes the person may not necessarily even achieve so much, would have achieved the basic minimum you expect from somebody of that status in that position. But the person is always in your face requesting for you to put in or are above other people because of the little achievement, and then you are wondering, what exactly have you done, and all those things. And when those behaviors are put forth, of course the other people will see it as an absorbed behavior, and then they will react to it like this. So of course it begins to cause this friction, and before you know it, it gets blown out, and it affects the functionality of not just the individual but the other people. In fact, some people will tell you, I was employed, for example, a very classical example. Let's say you employed somebody in the position of a cleaner. For 5 years the person had been there, and then you now employ another person as a utility staff, maybe just now, and you put the person, maybe because of the class of their whatever, you put the person's salary a little. Once he knows, then it becomes an issue. I've been here for 5 years. Why have you not promoted me? Why have you not done this? And of course, in establishment, there are classical features, things you see for you to, promote or increase or whatever. But this person is always in your face, almost every now and then, taking advantage of others in order to seek his own advantage. So those are features. And of course, it plays out in relationship too. And the partner is always pissed off.
Yes, and the partner is always pissed off. Is that getting pissed, and all of that. And looking at the features, it's not easy to tell your partner that I sense this is who you are, and you need to see a psychiatrist.
Well, in Nigeria, because we are a growing country as regards health, sometimes it might be difficult. But of course, these people also have emotions. And to an extent, although they have mood swings here and there, emotional problems here and there, but they also have people that they listen to. So sometimes as a partner, when you notice some things, and you may not be the best person to tell the other person, you may have to actually seek the help of the person they listen to more to actually help you present it to them in a way they can understand. And that sometimes can help.
Well, I think my own final question would be to know what are the ways to insulate yourself somehow from the predisposing factors that could push one to the precipice of this disorder.
Well, if we know the etiology of most mental health challenges, health conditions are caused by nature and nurture, meaning that there is a genetic component. That's one of the reasons why I said nobody is immune to mental health challenge, but there are also environmental factors that precipitate. So one thing one can do as much as possible, especially in terms of parents, because this behavior oftentimes occur more from teen age to adulthood. It is not out of place to see children actually exhibiting a few of these, but of course, they don't necessarily have to grow up to be a narcissist, kind of. They eventually grow out of it, and then, but when children are growing up, as parents, you are beginning to note some of these features. Because the treatment is also psychotherapy, kind of, we as parents can begin to dissuade them from some of these habits as early as possible, so that they don't eventually turn out to grow with that behavioral pattern.
That's fantastic. I like that. That nurturing can help correct some of these disorders. I mean, while growing up, if you've been able to identify this in your child or word or your siblings as well, you could have saved the person, so as to have better relationships in life. Well, this is how much we'll be taking. I know there is so much to say, but maybe some other time we give you a call. I believe you oblige us. All right, thank you very much. Yes, our dear viewer, this is how much we will take on this segment with Dr. Bayo Akinwumi. Yes, I think I get the pronunciation right. Thank you very much for coming. Yes, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be taking a look at another topic that concerns you, and just stick around. Yes, nice to know you're still with us. And today, as we promised, that we'll be looking at some other issues that concern you and I, and that we'll be looking at the issue of the reviewed tickets for transporters in Ondo State, especially motorcyclists and tricyclists. You know, their tickets have been reviewed upwardly anyway. And to discuss this with us this morning, we've got Comrade Gani Mohammed, who's the special advisor to the governor on special duties and strategies. It's nice to have you this morning.
It's my pleasure to be here this morning.
All right. Yes. After the upward review of the tickets field, many people in town says at a time where governments are giving palliatives, they're giving several incentives to caution the effects of first subsidy removal, we're having an upward review. Won't this in turn, affect transport costs, seafair in short? Will it not?
Yeah, ordinarily, we didn't need to even announce this review because the system had reviewed itself before this announcement. You will recall it, that the rate that we applied till this review, that is the rates before this review, was done in 2017, and we put out of Okada at 150 naira. That is the rate that we issue our rate, that is a ticket to the riders through our agents who are the coordinators, or call them branch or unit, depends on what you want to call them, but essentially for the purpose of this conversation, we should make it our agents. So we discovered that the 150 rate, 150 naira is or was no longer realistic, in the sense that this rate, a fraction will come back to the government. A fraction of this went to the unit, branch, and the actual agent. We have various units across the city where these tickets are being cut for the riders. Then all these units, they are being coordinated by a unit, by another layer called branch or branches. Then the entire for the local government come under a coordinator. Then this fraction will go to the coordinator, who happens to be our super agent. Our super agent or agents, let me narrow it for the purpose of clarity, to discuss a local government in this case. we have an agent, a super agent in the local government. Under this super agent, we have sub-agents. Another layer, we have sub-agents, meaning 3 layers: the super agent, agent, and sub-agents down there. We have this fraction that they will share among themselves from the 150 naira. We discovered that what it takes these agents to even transport themselves to the collecting places or points across the cities, what they take home at the end of the day had become so insignificant that they have started going to take from the portion that should go to government. At the end of the day, you discover that even some places, nothing will be returned to the government.
They went to be taken from the portion that should go to government. That goes to say the monetary mechanism was non-existent or ineffective on the part of government in that arrangement.
That means that you seem not to understand.
I understand
what I'm explaining.
Drawing. What I am asking you is this: are you saying that government let out that ticketing without putting monetary mechanisms such that the portion that should go to government goes to government, and then it will be difficult for those people to pilfer into it?
You understand that the cash is a cash transaction that comes from these agents. It is we give them a ticket, they take their portion from the cash. But now, even they used to make away with the entire money because they
Who monitors them?
And that's a function.
Yeah,
of
we
monitoring.
monitor. Yeah, we monitor them. They run away. That is the reason we have police. That transactions take place on the street, and we have police around in the street, does not take the fact that some people will still make away with these things.
So, what is the assurance that this upward review will still not be taken away? Well, you said they ran away. How sure are you they will still not run away with the upward review?
Interesting.
Because the point is, the people who walk, the riders who walk, will have to now pay more. Isn't that what it means?
Yeah. I'm just itemize the basis for the review.
Okay.
I've only discussed one.
Because we need to move faster.
Yeah.
It's no longer on our side.
All right. Yeah. They will not make away. I've given you the reason. At the end of the day, you discover that their portion for the whole day will be 500 naira. You know what that means to a person who will have to ride Okada or get by transportation, get to the point, in the evening, goes back home.
All right.
And his portion of it becomes 500 naira. At the end of the day, he has about 2,000, 3,000 or 5,000 being the entire sales.
So comrade,
Now, how does this person survive? And we are dealing, the category of these people in the society.
So, comrade, can we do a quick mentioning
of
of the reasons? Since
yeah,
you mentioned one,
one.
it no longer
Two,
pays
two.
the people.
That 150 did not cover the print that we had already. Thirdly, these people that we already asked to pay given a ticket having the face value of 150 naira, were already selling it at 500 naira.
On their own.
On their own.
That's a kind of embezzlement, is it?
So, yeah. Now we made some arrests, but it became very unreasonable. And that points to the fact that 150 was no longer realistic, because these Okada riders were already even buying it at 500. And the proceed now went to this agent at expense of what beyond the ratio that should come to them. And we said, okay, call the stakeholders, the riders, the agent, and every one of them, fix the rate.
Okay. But now that the rate is fixed, it is not uncommon in Nigeria to see people cut corners, because if they've made away with 150 and they were not caught, chances are that they also make away with your 500 or no matter the amount.
In management, if you have a staff and your staff comes to you on Thursday that comes to you on Wednesday that you should allow him Wednesday, this leave, a day leave on Thursday that he wants to go to Port Harcourt from Akure, and you approve a leave one day for your staff who wants to travel from Akure to Port Harcourt. Effectively, you have given him Friday. Why not communicating it? Because there is no way he could travel to Port Harcourt on that Thursday and come back that Thursday and still function on the basis of why he has traveled. It then means that you have to factor this into whatever you do that, okay, Mr. Man, if you want to go to Port Harcourt, why don't you take Friday along? You factor into it. If you are giving agent ticket and the amount you ask him to sell and his own fraction of it will not even be enough for him to take him from home to that spot, and you still insist that he should come, then you are asking for impossible. You are requesting a man to get pregnant and deliver a baby for you. It doesn't work
that anymore. Now, you've talked about that of Okada. This ticketing is not just about Okada people alone. There are tricycle riders.
Tricycle.
There are taxi people. What exactly is the new rate across board? Maybe discount for this and all of that. Let's lay that there.
It's segmented based on the circumstances of all of the, Okada is expected to carry a passenger. Keke rider is expected to carry 4-5. Then we put Keke rider at 1,000.
Is it within the metropolis of Akure alone?
The one that affects the interstate is coming. We are working it out because all of this is not an arbitrary figures. We agree, like we said, they are products of interaction, that product of so many stakeholder meetings and all of that, and we agree that this will function for you, this will function for us. Essentially, we put people at the center of all of this. Like you raised in the beginning that this might lead to a raise in the transport fare. I said it is most likely not to happen. Most likely not to happen because the simple reason is that they had already been on this rate. That was why I said at the beginning of this conversation that it was not necessary to even announce it because the rate was already in existence.
But illegally, since it wasn't authorized by
it was not authorized. And the way in management, the way you go around this is to move with system. At a time, it was Nokia. At a time, it was, you see some of all these products, but because they refuse to move with time, they are no longer in the market. And if you want to sustain this, at times, during our review, I even asked if we actually need to be printing tickets again.
How do you intend to monitor this effectively so that the hand of government will still not be tied and forced for another review? Because what you have painted is like saying that it's the people, the operators, the ticketers, quote unquote, that mandated government to do this review.
They don't mandate government. The issue is that I told you that it's a product of conversation. It's a true product of
government has to dance to their tune. They were already.
Government is for the people.
I agree with you. What you have said is that they were already issuing it for 500.
Yeah.
Instead of the
agreed. And that 500, what we do, because it was out of our instruction as a government, we sent police on them. We made arrest, but we discovered that it was no longer. It does not make sense. Because we are compelling them to do the impossible.
So the question is, how well do you intend to monitor this so that it will not lead to what made you to come to this point?
What led to it was inappropriate or not doing the rightful evaluation. Okay. And once you do what is right, what is adequate, then the other side of the device.
So you are convinced this is adequate now?
Oh, it's adequate.
And appropriate too.
It's appropriate.
All right, let's talk about our revenue generation. At least this upward review too should mean that the government would be having some increase in the internally generated revenue.
No doubt, even for the agents, for all of them, they celebrated it because it improves their conditions and economic well-being. And that's essentially the primary assignment of a government, to make people more comfortable, to make people with people's welfare a priority.
But the riders now, the Okada riders, the tricyclists, are they celebrating this? Because most of the time when you board public transport, what you hear the driver say at every collection point is that
let me tell you something. You are in this city and you are every place where the Okada riders or these riders operate. You will notice that some people will just be obtaining money from them, even when they are not even carrying